Thank you, Chairman. The silence. I want to talk a little bit more about the silence. I'm going to invite Professor Raskin in on this. Professor, we have alleged that this legislation, which would further deport kids with cancer who are American citizens, that would deport and exile American citizens, that would allow the firing of veterans who work at the Department of Justice, that would allow the hiring of January 6th rioters at the Department of Justice. We've alleged that that is cruel and incompetent. My colleagues across the other side have said nothing. We've given them multiple opportunities to defend it. Now, I do my CLE, my continued legal education, but I'm a little rusty. I've been here for 13 years. You're not rusty. In the law, I remember something called like an adoptive admission. So if I say to the other side, what you're doing is cruel, what you're doing is incompetent, and it's just like zip, heads down, kind of like what my kids do when you catch them with their hand in the cookie jar and they don't want to talk about it. What is an adoptive admission? What does it mean that they're being so silent? And what could you conclude in the law that they've been accused of being cruel and incompetent and deporting kids with cancer who are citizens, and they say nothing? What's an adoptive admission?
Well, an adoptive or a constructive admission, as it's sometimes called, means in certain contexts that you can construe someone's silence as agreement with a particular proposition. In criminal court, of course, you can't do that. If someone chooses not to testify in criminal court, the privilege against self-incrimination under the Fifth Amendment means that the prosecutors can't get up and say,
I'm going to challenge you, though, Professor. Now, say somebody's accused of murdering their wife, and it's not in court, and it's, proceedings have not happened yet, they're a suspect, and you say very publicly to that person, you murdered your wife, and you say it in front of like 10 people, and they just put their head down. Doesn't the law say that an ordinary innocent person in that environment, not in court, would defend themselves and say, no, I didn't do that?
Absolutely. And in fact, in civil court, a refusal to testify can be used against you, and your silence can be constructively ascribed to your agreement with the proposition.
Okay, let me try it one more time. Your bill will deport more kids who are American citizens with cancer.
I don't think they want to answer that.
The silence is deafening.
Would the
It
gentleman
tells us
yield?
everything we need.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Let's do it a different way. How about this? Raise your hand if you do not think children with cancer who are American citizens should be deported.
You do not think.
Looks like it's all the Democrats and none of the Republicans. Now, Mr. Swalwell, if I could just continue and ask a question, because you raise an interesting point on the sort of adoptive or constructive admission, especially the distinction between a criminal investigation and a civil investigation. So if a president orders the Department of Justice to criminally investigate his former administration officials because they spoke out against him, does that mean in a criminal context that if they are asked a question and they remain silent, that it can or cannot be used against them?
In a criminal context, it cannot be used against them.
I see. Okay. So they really benefit, I guess, from being under criminal investigation for speaking out against the president, dissenting, as they say. So luckily for them, And I guess unluckily for our colleagues over there who are not under criminal investigation,
They could just speak up and say something.
they could, and they don't get. Okay, thank you. I yield back.
Yield back.